Hello, fellow traders. Tis I, the Rumpled One, coming to you on Tuesday, August 23rd. The year's 2022. Let's talk trading. Trading tactics with Walmal. These videos are for educational purposes only. Your results may differ from mine and different from Walmal's. Walmal, you want to talk about tactics and strategy, what the difference is. So, how about you tell the boys and girls and non-binary traders out there what you were thinking?
Yeah, what I was thinking is that, um, the whole idea of strategy and tactics, they're actually military terms, and that's where they really came out of, was military strategy and military tactics. And lots of books from the times of olden times, I guess is the best way to put it. And since then, we as business people and and traders and name a profession have taken that idea from the military and have adapted it to make it work in our own industrial way of working. And just a quick, simple definition of strategy is essentially what we need to do to get to from where we are to another place in a specific amount of time. That's a simple definition of strategy. So in other words, this is where we are, this is where we want to be, this is where we want to be in a certain amount of time, and that's really what your strategy is. And when you think about it, that's really a trading plan for us as traders. We sit down and we figure out where we are, where we want to be, and then we then have to go and do something called tactics. In other words, how are we going to go and do it? But before I get to tactics, real quick, strategy. What makes a good strategy? Well, in my opinion, you have to go and your strategy needs to be based on something concrete that you're able to go and see repeatedly. In other words, some type of statistics or data, that actually helps you define where you think you're going to be able to go. And then the second thing is, and this is probably for me anyway, the most important part of it, or actually probably the second most important part, and that is clearly defined goals. We need to go and really write out, okay, we want to be a millionaire. We want to be a whatever. We want to be able to just be able to put enough food on the table where I don't have to worry about that for my family. Whatever those goals may be. I want to go and grow my account size to a certain size, if you want to put it in trading plans. And then the third one, which I think is the most important thing, is what are your contingency plans? What happens when things go haywire, things just mess up and just don't work out for you? What are you going to do? How are you going to go and compensate for that? And that's where tactics get involved, because those are all good, necessary, high-level things. If you have nothing but tactics, in my opinion anyway, is that you are not going to get anywhere. You're just going to go back and forth, because you haven't set your sights on something off into the distance. And you may have the greatest tactics in the world, but if you don't apply your tactics at the right time and the right way, trying to go in a particular direction, you're just going to march around in circles, and that's not going to do anybody any good.
March
So
around in
getting back to
circles. That's funny.
yeah, and you don't get anywhere, But so what are tactics? Tactics are the actual short-term steps that you take in order to achieve your strategy. And every step that you take along the way, which is your tactic, should be a step in trying to go and achieve those things. And that's where we as traders sometimes get bogged down, because and we sometimes, what I mean by bogged down is that a lot of times we as traders, what we see is we only see the tactics. Okay, I'm going to use this trading method, and I'm just going to use this trading method, but we haven't gone and done some of the things we need to do in terms of the strategy and figure out, hey, is this strategy going to work for me? Does the data prove that it's going to work for me? In other words, for instance, with the Walmal method, I've told you this, Hero. I don't know how many times you can attest to this. I'd love to find a strategy for me that would work where I could go and trade in the evening, on Eastern time, and that would be profitable for me because that would work out better for my particular lifestyle and where I'm at. And honestly, I really haven't found that. There have been some things that worked out really well, but I haven't found the thing that really suits me very well. And in the very beginning, when I was trying to use the Walmal method during the Asian sessions, it just didn't work out very well for me. I mean, it worked, but it wasn't nearly as profitable as it was doing this during either the London session or the early New York session. Why? Well, if you go back and you start looking at the data and statistics, it tells you why. In one sense, it was almost foolish trying to use that method at that particular time during the day. So that's a question of using a strategy and also using a tactic. You need to make sure the two of them are in symmetry with each other. You can have a great tactic, but if you're not going and applying it correctly, it's not going to do a bit of good for you. And so that's one tactic, or actually that's a tactic, and at the same time using it in focus with strategy.
The one thing though, I think a lot of traders might be thinking is, most of that really isn't a tactic in the sense that all you can do is enter the trade and exit the trade. I mean, so really, I don't know if there's really that many tactical things you can do as a trader. Everything, I think more falls into strategy.
Yeah.
If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do. But at the same time, I think you're right. But at the same time, I'd go and say that your actual tactic is whatever your method is for entry. And I'll go to the next step and say whatever your method is for exit. Those are your actual tactics. At least that's the way I look at it. And yes, it's part of your strategy. But the thing is that the two of them have to be in harmony with each other. Your overall strategy, I look at it more top level maybe, and that is that because I take the definition that you get like from Sun Tzu, the great military planner, and his idea that with strategy, you're looking at from top down. This is where I am. This is where I want to be, and tactics are the things that get you there. And you got to make sure the two of them are in harmony with each other. And if they're not in harmony, you get nowhere. You just hit walls. So maybe that's slight difference that we're looking at it differently. So yeah, I mean, my methodology or method for entering a trade, whether it be looking at a Walmal method, looking at lower high and higher low boxes, looking at holo trades, looking at rat trades, looking at flip-flop boxes, whatever it may be. Those are your tactics, the different types of tactics, and I would say that you got to go harmonize that with your strategy, and part of harmonizing that with your strategy is, did you actually look at the data? Does the flip-flop box make sense to do, let's say, in late New York session? Well, maybe not, because you don't get as much moves. So you may have to go and take your method and maybe modify it. Maybe you were looking for it during the Euro session or the London session and the New York session. Maybe you're looking to make 3, 4, maybe 5 pips on a particular trade, and maybe once in a while you get a Wahoo where you get 10 to 15 pips. Not very often, but maybe you do get that. Whereas you talk about 4 o'clock, Eastern time, U.S. Eastern time. Can you get that? Sure you can. But more than likely, if you're going to make that successful, you have to go and take that particular tactics, and you need to go and, make it more realistic based on the data. And what I mean by that is you're not looking to go and make, 3, 4 pips. Maybe you're looking to make a half a pip or 1 pip because the market's so dead at that time.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Well, see, what I'm thinking is once again, the tactics might be, instead of going in with, your full position size, you might employ the tactic, okay, I test it with X amount. Maybe you go in with a tenth of the size. And if that's okay, then you maybe go in with, 3/10. And then and if that's okay, then you go in with the rest,
Mhm.
another 6/10. So to me, that would be a tactic of entry, because once again, all we can do is enter and exit. So we have to have, what tactics can we employ on entry? And other than, playing with position size and, or and possibly time, it says like, okay, so maybe I will enter 5 times within a 5-minute candle. So for example, let's just say we're at the Walmal line right now, and we've got a green 5-minute candle, but we're at the red Walmal line. So maybe we go, maybe we don't enter, or maybe we say, okay, the first time I put on, you know, say 1/3 of a position, because in this case, since you were going against the M5 candle color, in your mind, it might be more risky than if it was a red candle, like the candle before. So maybe you put on 1/3 on that candle before, or maybe you put on a half a position. And then when that other candle went down, if you didn't punch out quickly, maybe you add it again when it was crossing to the downside. So
Mhm.
that's kind of
Yeah,
the way I would look at it.
yeah, I would agree with that. All I'm saying is that I guess that, when you're going into a trade, there may be multiple tactics that are being applied at that same time. You may have for instance, you may have a tactic that's going and saying, okay, this is a place of entry. Um, you have that working for you. Your next part of it may be, okay, what type of entry is this? Is this a full boat entry, or is this, as as you're saying, go in with 1/3, see how it works out, and then go and add in, as things prove themselves out. Those are all different tactics that you can use. And I guess the way I look at it maybe is that, your strategy is sort of like a big tool bag, okay? And inside that big tool bag are all the different tactics that you can use. So if you're using the analysis of like a tool bag, you may have a hammer in there, you may have a screwdriver in there, you may have, chisel in there, whatever it is, it, it's the old expression, everything's a hammer. So so you may have things that can be used in multiple ways, and I think that's a good way of looking at it. At least from my perspective, that's a good way of looking at it. And so I would agree with you that, yeah, that's what you just described is a tactic. But I would also go and say, in addition to that, the methodology that you use for even saying, hey, this is a place of less risk to enter. Because you're right, once you enter the trade, you've entered the trade. You're either going to go long, you go short, or you're not going to go in at all. So that's all you can do. But the thing is, what goes and sets it off in your mind that this is a good place to go and take an entry, and this is a good place to take an entry in this direction or the other direction, so that you are trying to achieve your strategy.
Right. Well, you know what? The fastest 15 minutes in trading is up once again. We'll come back. Maybe we'll list some tactics later in the week. So, fellow traders, remember, when you're sitting down at your trading platform, it's not what you trade, it's how you trade it. So go out there and drain the banks. And also, please remember to hit like on the video so YouTube will move me up in their algorithm. This is the Rumpled One, over and out.